What's up and welcome back. Sorry it's been a long time since I've uploaded, so I'm trying to make up for it by showing you some shiny bits for the Datsun 280Z project we've been working on. This is just some of the parts that we've stripped. In a previous video we sent everything out for zinc plating, and this is the stuff that didn't get zinc plated because it's either going in the engine bay or I just didn't want it yellow zinc. So we powder coated it gloss black, and as you can see it came out pretty amazing. Just some little, there's the wiper motor bracket, and right there's the I believe that's the AC compressor bracket, and then we got some other stuff for the alternator, little shifter, and then the coil mount. So right now we're going to go ahead and get busy installing the wiper stuff, and these arms are kind of a pain in the butt to get in. Obviously all this is fresh paint, so we're trying to be extremely careful and not scratch anything. We didn't replate these arms. They were still in fairly good condition. Plus there's some little bushings and stuff in there for the actual wiper arms to mount to, so I didn't want to go through the trouble of sandblasting that and possibly having an issue with some irreplaceable parts. This is part of that stainless steel bolt kit that I got from cartridges.com, and as everything, as mentioned before, it comes pre-packaged and pre-labeled, so it's pretty amazing. Just using the old rubbers here for the mount, and as you can see, that new powder coated mount matches up great. Put it in there, wiper motors in, all the arms are mounted, and now it's time to work on disconnecting the actual wiring to the wiper motor. On this, you just get a little pick and you remove all the little pins. I made a diagram of where every single one of these pins went before I removed it, and then I took the time to make sure they went back exactly where they were. So I just pulled out the initial rubber that was all messed up, and then we got the same, again, cartridges.com replacement rubber grommet, and then putting in back the original pin rubber grommet that goes into the actual connector itself. Again, taking the time to make sure that all this wiring matches up exactly where it's supposed to be. You don't want to get something wrong here, else you're going to be taking it back apart, or even worse, you could fry the motor and then you'd be having to buy a new motor, which might not be such a bad thing because they do have a lot of forum write-ups all over the interwebs kind of describing what good replacement motors are out there. This is the original Datsun 280Z replacement motor. It does not have an intermittent function, so if you're wanting that, the original motor doesn't have that. It just has a low and a high setting. The intermittent function, I believe a lot of people have switched to like the Honda wiper motors, so if that's something you want to look into, by all means now would be the time to do that. And we're just reusing the original plastic connector, pushing the rubber grommet in, and then you slide each individual wire in until it clips. That'll be a little bit later on in this episode. You just kind of take your time, work it all the way through, and if you have to, you can put a little bit of white lithium grease or dielectric grease or something like that on the wiring and the grommet to make it easier to slide through. Dielectric grease will help the fittings not corrode, which, as we all know about the Z cars, electrical gremlins are a bit of an issue sometimes. So if that's something you're trying to prevent, now would be a great time to go ahead and apply a little bit of that to each one of the connectors before you go ahead and install this for the final time, to hopefully prevent any type of corrosion or grounding issues in the future. And now we get to move on to actually putting the new wiper motor grommet I got from DatsunGarage.com. A little bit different of a size. It's not the actual original size, but it is a OEM replica, I believe. So it does take some effort to get it installed. And now for something a little bit different, we're moving on to the interior vinyl installation. There's not a lot of good videos on this, so I kind of wanted to document as much as I could. We just bought the interior replacement. This is just the pillar trim, as well as the roof headliner pillar trim. So there's 3 little pieces. They come with their own pre-cut piece of foam. This stuff is really simple to make. The kits are kind of expensive, but unless you're going to remove the originals and make your own templates and give yourself enough extra, it's kind of just easy to support the people who've already done that and sell the product. So that's what we did here. This was bought from the Z Store or Motorsport Auto, MSA. It's all the same company. So you got to remove the welting first, and then you can pull off the foam. The original foam on this pillar is about 1/2 inch thick. You'll see later on in this video the replacement foam that comes with these kits, and they are a little bit different from first Gen Z. So that's the 70 to 73, and even the 74.5 early model, later 260. This trim piece runs all the way to the dash. So on the 280, there was a plastic piece of trim that took care of that. So minor differences, not that big of a deal, just depending on whether you're going for complete originality or not. You can make the cuts where you need to. And here we're just cleaning up a little bit of goo. I guess the original headliner was probably falling down, as most of them do, and somebody decided to put some hot glue and try to make it stay up. So once the foam is deteriorated, it's really hard to get anything to attach to the original foam and stay long term. So the cure for that is a complete and total replacement. This was the first piece of trim that goes up, which is the just the roof pillar trim, and I just clamped the 1/4 inch foam in place and then used the supplied adhesive spray. You can use the 3M stuff. This came with it. It's the Dantac. It works okay. I would probably get something a little bit stronger for the actual headliner, being as that's a lot more of a larger surface and more weight, obviously. So, but this works fine for the pillar trim, and it comes with the kit, so save you a little bit of money. A little bit goes a long way. You want to apply it to both sides here, and then you want to give it time to tack up. It does take a little bit of time to dry, so just quick little spurts on both sides. Call it 5 minutes or so, maybe a minute or 2, and you just want to touch the pieces together and make sure they're sticking. If you apply too much glue to the foam, what will happen is, as that glue gets able to start setting up, you're going to start trying to press it into place, and that foam is just going to kind of compress on you, and it won't have that nice plush backing that the vinyl requires for that nice smooth look. So a little goes a long way. Don't apply too much, don't apply too little, or it's going to start falling down. So try to find the happy medium, and that's really hard to do. I understand that, unless you've done this before or you have experience maybe working on some scrap pieces, figure out what works and what doesn't. As you can see, we have a ton of extra foam, so all we're going to do is start trimming this up. And you're just finding the pillar lines and then taking a very sharp razor blade and following the pillar line. You'll see the edges are much longer than you need, so we'll trim those up a little bit later in the video. But I use a worn out dull razor, kind of try to get the initial cut, and then I come back and then shape any little bit, either with a very sharp razor, fresh razor, or some of these compound curves and stuff like that. You'll get a die grinder with a roll lock disc on it to kind of help shape the foam if you have a bunch. That's mainly for seats and stuff like that, so we don't really do it on this stuff. Just some little tips and tricks for you if you're working on a different project in the future, so hope that helps. We're just going to continue trimming this up, get all the excess gone, and then we'll move on. There was a little bit different, like I was saying before, difference in kits on the vinyl. And obviously you can buy this foam and the vinyl separately. You don't actually have to buy the kit from any Z store. But like I said, I support the stores that have already done the research, already made the templates, and already cut the dies for this stuff. This was probably the hardest part of the whole process. The first one is always the toughest. And it's just trying to get your head wrapped around orientation of this, because you have to give yourself enough material to work with, and then you're kind of inverting it and flipping it upside down. It's almost like a mirror image of what you're trying to accomplish, and then you attach the welting on the back of it and then pull it around the front for the fitment, and then you take it all off and you apply the glue. As you can see here, what I'll do, I've got this stuff taped up. Obviously we're working with fresh paint, so I don't want any of this glue. You can see it kind of dripping down there. I don't want any of that glue on any of the fresh paint. Obviously we still have a ton of excess material here, so what you do is just apply all of the glue to all of the material and then trim as necessary, and just minor cuts go a long way here. Or see all those little clamps. You can use any kind of clamp you have, or any kind of little cheap clamp you can buy from like an office store. Paper clip, you know, the bigger ones. And then I let this dry for an entire night. So once that initial setup takes place, let it dry overnight, and then we'll move on to the side pillars. And that's just kind of showing the detail right there of how it tucks. And this is what I was talking about earlier, the difference. So if you're going for 100% originality, there's a plastic piece. Oftentimes in the 280Zs, those get broken. So I opted to run the vinyl trim all the way down, as would be on the same earlier models, 240s and 260s. So you can do whatever you'd like, but here's just kind of showing the detail of the welting. And as you can see, I built up 2 layers to match that original 1/2 inch of foam, and just to try to give that little bit of extra material beneath the vinyl to make sure we get a nice plush look. So that's kind of how you have to do that with these kits. You just build up 2 layers of foam, because the 1/4 inch won't do it. You'll have wrinkles everywhere, and you'll be wondering why you have such a hard time getting this thing to look good. So 2 layers of foam is key here, and then you can just see that little corner detail right there. Fold the little flap in, and then run it all the way down in the front. And that's pretty much it. That's all we're going to get done on this video. We'll trim all this up and make it look pretty in the next one, and then we'll start the headliner install process. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time.